Hey everyone, welcome to the Ceres Podcast. Today I'm joined by the Podsquad team, Kelly Barnes, David Miller, David Nicolaou and Mark Petrou for May's episode of the Podsquad. In this episode, we discuss the realities of trade in 2026, changing consumer behaviour, rising food and supply chain pressures, and whether simpler businesses are now starting to outperform more complicated operations. We also explore the difference between attention and actual demand when it comes to social media, public attacks and online reputation management, copycat businesses, changing consumer attitudes towards pricing and fish species, and the commercial realities behind closing a business. These are some chunky topics and we enjoyed discussing them. As always, if there's something important to you that you'd like us to cover in future episodes, let us know before next month's recording and we'll try and discuss it. Just a quick note as well on the Scottish and Welsh regional roundtable podcasts by Jamie and Zohab Hussain. We've had some fantastic feedback from listeners so far, and the next ones are being planned as we speak. If you want to be on them actually as a guest, get in touch with us and let's see what we can do. And before we get into this episode, a quick advert from us at Ceres. Cleaning is one of those things that get overlooked right up until it becomes a problem, usually at the end of a shift. And at Ceres, we've built some simple cleaning systems around three powerful core products. One is our heavy-duty degreaser. Number two is our professional descaler and our non-caustic deep fry cleaner, all designed specifically for fish and chip shops, restaurants and commercial kitchens. Each one has a really specific role, breaking down grease, removing limescale, and you're keeping your fryers in tip-top condition without damage or unnecessary downtime. No overlap, no confusion, just three products that cover what actually matters in your business. Our job at Ceres is to create solutions for some of the hardest tasks inside your business, and we've got you covered on the cleaning side. We're always expanding the range as well, so keep an eye at www.ceres.shop, and remember, we also offer free mainland UK shipping. Before we let you go, one final thing. We've recently added a new review feature to the website, and if you leave a verified product review, we'll automatically enter your name into a draw for £100 of store credit. So after you make your purchase, wait a few days and you'll get an email from us asking you to leave us a review. We do this, we only have verified reviews because why not? So why not be in with a chance for £100 of store credit? I hope you enjoyed this episode with myself, Kelly Barnes, David Miller, David Nicolaou and Mark Petrou. Hey everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, that was nice and snappy. I did say snappy. So guys, welcome to the May Pod Squad. It's nice to have you all. What's the weather like where you're all at?
Blue skies.
Gloomy. Overcast.
It's raining here.
Beautiful.
Windy, cloudy, not great.
Not great.
Sun is shining and I've got sunburnt legs.
Well, it would be, wouldn't it, Kelly?
It's always beautiful weather in God's county.
The sun always shines on the righteous.
I live next door to a church as well.
I did something wrong.
You live next door to a church. Irony of you walking past a church without it going on fire, you know.
Well, ironically, we put our scrap bin next to the wall because God was not going to let, God will protect his builders and put the scrap bin in. It's never caught fire, but we just, it's kind of, next to where the church is.
Yeah, wow. Well, what can I say? Well, moving on to a solid topic, guys.
Slightly random introduction.
Yeah, well, we need a bit of that, don't we? So what I was sort of wanted to start with, let's start with a basic question. Like, how is trade? Like, I think it's really important. We've not done a podcast for a little while. So let's start with something grounded in a bit of truth and data. Kelly, how's it going for you?
It's been a buoyant couple of months, if I'm honest. We definitely, obviously, to be honest, Easter for us was a bit of a flop. It wasn't a great Easter, but we've had a good few sunny days, which for us means that trade just goes through the roof instantly. And now we've got both shops together, which I know we're going to come to later. It's definitely showing an improvement. What I would say is people are probably more picky because their money is probably a lot more valuable to them now than it ever has been. So yeah, trade is good, but yeah, customers are definitely more picky.
Regarding the Easter flop, like I spoke to quite a few customers around the country at that time, especially around, let's say, the coast, that were expecting it to be good, and it wasn't. That double bank holiday was a bit of a letdown for people, but the bank holiday after seemed a bit more sprightly. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, and for us, it is always weather dependent. I think we ended up the weekend after ended up being sort of 21 degrees. If that had been Easter weekend, it would have been absolutely bonkers. What we have sort of come to terms with now is if the sun's shining, we're going to be busy, so let's be prepared. Which is obviously, it's quite difficult to do when you're living by the weather day to day. But yeah, definitely, weather definitely makes an impact for us. That's for sure.
Yeah, David Nicolaou, how's it going for you, man?
Yeah, it was all right. We had a really good Friday. I think when the Good Friday is really early on in the year, I think that plays to the inland shops' advantage because it's too cold to go and hit the coast. So, we've had a really busy, nice, buoyant April. May's been a little bit down from where we want it to be, but I think there's that much negativity out in the world with elections and viruses and cost of living, and all you see is sort of negative news items all day. So, yeah, I guess people, like Kelly said, they're very picky where they spend the money, and they want to get the maximum bang for the buck.
Do you think your customers, if we look at yours, how are they sort of responding to the cost of living crisis as such?
We're kind of lucky because we're in a fairly well-off area, so we can price, we can get what we want for the fish and chips, and we're very conscious that we've got to be really good at what we do as well. So, we haven't really got that much of an issue, but we have found that people are migrating towards smaller portions. So,
do you mean you're in a well-off area because there's more and more people on benefits in your area?
The people around us actually work, but yeah, that's we're on one end, and obviously lots of operators are on the other end. So, their customers have got a fairly good pay rise thanks to the Labour government.
All right.
But no, we're finding that people, like Kelly said, they want to get the maximum value for the money. So, we are probably probably the most expensive shop in Doncaster, but we're also probably one of the best, if not the best. I can sit here and say that. So yeah, so we kind of attract a different crowd anyway. It's not just it's not just something to fill your belly, it's something to enjoy.
So now that you've just put a target on your back.
Yeah, I don't care.
So I'm just pointing out.
Been on there a long time, mate.
Now you've put a bigger target on your back. What is it you're sort of focusing on daily then to make sure that you, in your words, stay the best then? Like, what is it that you're trying to do?
We've always been really obsessed with getting out all the procedures right and get everything, all the twiddly bits nailed down. I've said this before. We haven't got a big menu. We've got a very tight menu, actually, and it's quite kind of easy to deliver with a small team. So it's just making sure that, you're staying on top of everything, that things don't run away from you, that you have to respond to changing patterns. I mean, we have a weird thing where one weekend, one Friday, Saturday, everybody wants haddock. Nobody wants cod. So you're left with, stocks of cod. And then the week after, you run out of cod because you've cut your cod down and, nobody wants haddock anymore. And it's really sort of the way it swings between the split, because we sell both. It's really quite difficult to manage. So that's getting that right has been a bit of a problem, but we've kind of got the numbers, and it's just analysing what you're selling and keeping the maximums that you're going to sell there, so you can respond. But yeah, it's just I just think that the news cycle is doom. It's constant doom. And if our customers are on the older side of things, and if they sat watch telly all day, you probably want to top yourself. It's just there's no joy at all out in the world. So I don't know. You just have to get, what do the Japanese say? Chop wood, carry water. You just have to keep doing that.
Yeah. Mark Petrou, how's it going for you, man?
Yeah. So I'm 40 miles inland, my business, so I'm not coastal. I don't think the weather makes a big difference as it does with Kelly. I trade 26 hours a week, and I'm not the busiest shop. I'd say, I'm a medium-sized chippy, and I typically take 10k a week. We're not the busiest shop. Footfall is down. We're still taking the same money, but we're taking the same money because of price rises. And nobody's questioned my prices. No, I've not had one complaint about my price increases. And I'm sharing all of this so that I'm relatable to the audience, because we can all sit in and feel very isolated in our businesses. And so anyone who's got a business similar to mine might get some comfort from knowing that, my footfall's down, their footfall's down, whatever. So my footfall's down, but I'm still taking the same money, which tells me there's not a lot of growth. And I think, why have I not got the growth that I've enjoyed before? And I put that down to external forces that are out of my control, like the state of the economy and the state of all the things that I don't control from my business. From a business point of view, I've tried some epic deals, steal deals, I call them. And they've not really, I've launched them, I've promoted them, I've pushed them, and they've not really been taken on, which surprised me, because they were really good deals and they were on high profit, items. My customers seem to know what they want, and I've not seen a shift away from fish. I've tried alternative species and that hasn't really worked. So I'm just keeping my ship steady and sticking to the core values that I've employed for the last 39 years, which is, do it with quality. If it doesn't add value, don't do it. And I'm just, trying to stay ahead of the bills. So that's it, really.
It's interesting, isn't it, Mark? Because I think as owners, we try and respond to what's going on, as David said, the doom. And we're like, right, people have got no money. We need to be offering specials. We need to be looking at alternatives. And in actual fact, you put all of that stuff on the menu and they still come back to what they know and what they want. And they don't bat an eyelid over price.
I think one of the things I always think of is like incentives and how we do certain things. But what evidence do we have that customers want really low prices? I think they want value, but what evidence do I think what they really want is the great product you're all serving, tweak it so it's the best it can possibly be, but they want it for the best price possible. That doesn't mean cheap. And I think, so I think sometimes we look at, we optimize for the wrong thing. I think we look at what customers are saying and think, they must be really stressed and really peed off. Let's now drop our price or bring something that they may not want at a lower price point.
I think, I just to echo that, I think we're utterly obsessed with price in this industry and look less at value of the offering. We just think that putting an offer on and pricing we see it as such an easy fix, and it's the short path to a result, I guess, as opposed to looking at what you're doing and making sure that everything you do has an effect and it's the best it can be.
Yeah, I'd rather optimize for value, which is a combination of price, quality, service, and so on.
You've got to cover it all.
Absolutely, rather than just price. Go on, Mark, sorry.
It's only my opinion, and maybe I've become tarnished, but I feel at the moment that people that go out to work are struggling more than people that don't go out to work. I truly feel that. I feel
absolutely agree.
The amount of disposable income that hardworking people have got is just been swallowed up, and the people that aren't working have still got disposable income to chuck at takeaways.
To add to that, I remember a customer of mine. You'll know who he is, but I won't say who he is. He always says, when Labour get into power, and this is not to be overly political, this is just something he says, because when Labour get into power, they give money to those people who come to the chip shop more. He goes, they might tax me more on the end of it, but he goes, they will give me more customers. And I think that sort of maybe that leans into what you're saying a little bit, Mark.
Yeah. Like I said, it is only my opinion. You're welcome to ignore it, but that's how I feel. That's what I sense from the customers that are coming into the shop. My white collar workers coming in, they're looking beat. They're looking dead, and they're and they're being picky on what they're spending their money on, and other people aren't.
Yeah. And not wanting to jump in on anything political, but more economic. But it's so short term because the money that's generating the wealth in this country is leaving, and the sort of the average worker, the 35 to 50k a year, is packing it in. They're walking across and joining the people with anxiety and depression, and the government will quite happily sign them a check every week. But at some point, the system just grinds to a halt. So yeah. I'm sure, arguably, that's the beautiful thing about socialism. You reward people who aren't productive and punish people who are.
Yeah. And I've saved the best till last, obviously. David Miller, how's trade for you, mate?
I forgot what I was going to say now. Right. Honestly, trade is very good for us, and I'm really chuffed about that, and quite surprised with what's going on. But my break-even point's gone up. So, it's about the profit to me. I'm not really bothered about what I take a week as long as that profit's there. And I think that's something we're looking at. We'd leave it for the end of this week, for last week. I want to know what it is on Tuesday to see what we've got to do. I think the great thing for our shop is that because of the delivery system we have and our own app, and we can get the food to the customers in where we live very quickly. They don't have to get in the car. We have that beauty of the app where people just tick it or whatever, and then they push the button, send, and they pay for it. So we've not got as many walk-ins who I've only got so much in the pocket. And I'm pleased about that. But I am very conscious we need to hit that break-even point. And I think, good on them, but we've got some great shops in York. So you've really, and obviously Scrapbox won the awards this year. They're not far away from us. So you've got to be on your game. You really have to make sure. So that's something that we've really strived on. Again, like David, we have quite a stripped down menu. We've got a few of the specials on, like we've done the spice bag, which has been successful. We've got the fried chicken, all, good quality made in-house stuff. My prices, I put them up 10% just across the board. I just went 10% right across. And cod, we're making no money on it. And I just put it up. I put £2.50 on it. We're still saving as much cod as we were. Turnover's up a bit. And is that because of the price increase? But the bottom line is my break-even point is further up the line. So am I making as much money as last year? I'll know in 2 weeks' time when I've got my meeting with my accountants for the last quarter. But I think it's tough out there. And I think when I do my report, you'll get some ideas of what's going on. And it's good. I'm pleased with it. I can pay my staff. I can buy a bottle of gin. It's good.
Or
it's
two.
Good. Or two. Yeah.
Perhaps a whiskey chaser.
Well, it's good. You've got Christmas Day, so I get gin then. I've got my birthday in February, and then Father's Day is coming up. So I've got the first 6 months sorted out of the year anyway.
Yeah. I feel like you're ready to pivot to more of a moving away from a fish and chip podcast to a gentleman's evening wear podcast where you have a pipe and a monocle and a little drinky.
Hey,
I can see you
I'll
sort
join
of
that.
Oh, I've got a lovely smoking jacket I'd like to debut.
So, but there's one thing that a little pattern emerged here, which is customers are pickier. And most of you have all sort of said it to some degree. Some of you are clearer than others. And I think one of the things that we're sort of seeing is that, and it's a very British thing, is that British like to moan. We're all British here. We I was thinking about this the other day. Yesterday, someone said to me, "Oh, how was your weekend?" No, this was last night. And I wanted to respond with not bad. Whereas actually it was a fantastic weekend. It was brilliant. But we naturally just sort of lean towards that slight pessimism. Whereas if we're constantly feeding into that from customers, like what sort of decisions does that make us make in our business? And I think a lot of people are, and we're going to talk about other species shortly, but a lot of people are doing like these big box meal deals, steel deals, cheaper fish and so on. But I think what Customize really optimize for, in my opinion, I've been doing a lot of research about this lately, they really optimize for certainty, convenience, and perceived value. And I think if we just constantly throw at them, oh, here's this lesser known species and I can do it for £3 cheaper, I think they're a bit like, okay, it might be £3 cheaper. It might be £7 for a fish and chips instead of £10. But what consumers do, we all do it actually, we don't focus on gains, we focus on losses. Yeah. So what they don't think is, they don't think, oh, what a bargain, I'm getting this for £7. What they think is, I'm losing £7. Yeah. So I think we've got to be sort of careful. If it's great, do it, obviously. If you stand by that product, it's fantastic, do it. But do be careful, like, to anybody listening to this, like what you sort of add to the menu, because I think that could be a problem down the line. Just my 2 pence, obviously. Not that I know. It's just interesting because watching the marketplace, I think we could easily panic. If you watch the news for longer than 5 minutes, you probably do feel like a bit like full of dread. But actually, I think what we should be selling is joy. It's a break from all of that, isn't it? Like, so, and I think fish and chips is a break from all of that.
I just don't watch the news anymore. It's too depressing.
Or just don't watch the news anymore.
Your customers, you've got to give them experience, haven't you? It's got to be good from start to finish, from when they put that knife and fork down or when they come in the shop. You've got to be really happy, put your love into it. Your fries have got to be on it. Your servers have got to be on it. Your product's got to be second to none. Everything, when times are tough, and you should be doing it anyway.
Yeah.
But when times are tough, you've really got to be looking at everything. If you get a phone call, if you get something, react to it straight away. Don't, just do great customer service. Don't just write back, or, if you can get a number on your database, ring them up and say, what was the problem? All like that. That to me is the sort of thing we really need to be looking at. And at the end of the day, quality will always prevail. And I think it will.
I was at a shop the other day, and a customer coming, he was chatting to the shop owner. And as he was doing his food and everything, he goes, oh, how's it going? And he started saying, oh, it's really tough. Cod's expensive. Fish is expensive, blah, blah, blah. Gas is expensive. But the guy just says, look, mate, I've got my own problems. And you know what? Like, you sort of get it. Like, you've gone somewhere to sort of have a break from it all. Like, and people's bills are more than they were. Yeah. Look at how much they're paying for diesel now and everything. So, like, people don't want to come there to be reminded of your problems. It makes them feel depressed about their own problems.
Their lovely food, the lovely food you cook them should give them a break from all of that, shouldn't it?
Yeah. Look, I think ultimately, one thing that makes me think after leaving, like, we have no evidence that customers actually care about our problems. Like, they care about their problems. Like, so, like, I think we need to be careful how much we constantly go on about our problems, because I always say to people, you chose to be in business. So I'm not saying it should be harder than it is. Like, it would be nice if it was easier, but I don't think customers care. Like, they want to go to the pub. They want to have a good time. They want to go out for the weekend. Like,
I don't even worry about my problems now. I'm just worried about Vernon and Tess.
I know.
It's the end of the world as we know it.
Yeah.
The only time that I ever sort of try to explain to people when they come in and unfortunately, if you get some people in from Barnsley, all they say is, you are how much? That's the anthem. And I always try and explain to them that, look, everything's, wherever you go, everything's expensive, relatively. Absolutely, yes, things have gone up relatively, but still a really good deal for the quality you get. For the whole piece of protein that you're getting that's not messed about with, it's still a really, really good deal. We try and push that.
Yeah, I never knew that about Barnsley. I had no idea.
It's the national anthem.
Like I've told you before, you keep saying it incorrectly.
Why? What am I doing?
Is it not Barnsley?
Tan. Going down tan. Awful.
Yeah. So, David Miller, moving on. I would like it if you could give us your, I would say monthly, but we need to lock into these monthly episodes. But can you give us this month's market report, please?
So when I do my market reports, everybody, I get in touch with not just one person from obviously the potato sector and the fish sector. I ring quite a few up. And this time, everybody was actually on the same page, which is really good to hear. So let's start with the potatoes. This is right across the board. So where is like your boiled potatoes, the stuff that you get in the supermarkets, crispers, frozen sector, and obviously us, which are the chippers. There's still a lot out there. So it's what's called a long harvest. And the biggest problem is the dry matter is very, very high this year. There's a glut of it in Europe as well. So there's thousands of tons being dumped or sold for very little money for animal feed. But now that's a problem because the grass is going. So all the livestock's out on the field consuming the grass and not potatoes or for food like that. Customer demand is down. That is right across the board and Europe. And there are certain factors for that, which I'm going to group together at the end. But there is still plenty of good quality potatoes around. So that is good news. The price will stay stable. But as I say, it's what's called a long harvest because there's so much of it. So there will be good quality potatoes of old crop still going when the new crop comes in. So it's up to you guys which way you go with that. So as I say, the price should stay stable. Planting for this year has gone really well. The weather is spot on. There was rain last week, about an inch across the board. So that's really good. There's a bit more forecast, which we've had. And the actual long-range weather forecast is looking good. So they're reckoning the early should be out about 7 to 8 weeks. So that's the potato report. Fish. Now, this is quite interesting. So let's start with cod. Cod is going to be short. The price will rise. The quotas are about done. 80% of the boats have already done their fishing for this year. They may have one more trip. Some might have 2. So what we've got in now is going to last us for the year. It will be short. H&G is probably at its peak. So H&G is when they take the head and gut out. And that is what really sets the price for our fillets. So we or the guys or the wholesalers who buy the fish have got to pay these prices to keep them producing fillet production. Because obviously fillet production is a longer process, let's say 28 days, where a H&G is around 20. So if you think about it in a year, they can get out more to the sea. China is taking a lot of this, but that is sort of backing off. And one thing you've got to remember, guys, is that the boats or the vessels, fishermen, are still a business. And they have to run at a profit and they have to keep their staff. Because if they're docked up in dry dock from, let's say, August to when their quotas come in next year, they've got to keep them staff on. If not, they lose them and then they can't run the boat. So let's say haddock stocks are good. So the actual suppliers can see a lot of people changing to haddock as the cod goes up. One said that we might have to start cutting more. So bigger samples will be coming in, not as many fillets. Talking about your species, which might help or add on to your conversation later, Stel, is that the hake they're struggling to find, and also their quota's nearly finished. Now, the one that's around that's a good alternative is pollock off Greenland coast or in the Greenland waters. So that's a good alternative. And one of my suppliers went to a well-known fish and chip shop and actually put some pollock in there and took his family. And he said to the friars, "Can you fry me that pollock off instead of what we've ordered?" And they all had it and said it was fantastic. And because they didn't know it was cod, they thought it was cod and it was pollock. So I thought that was really interesting. So if we go to everybody we've talked to, everybody's saying that demand is down in all sectors. There's quite a few things for this. Obviously, the rising living costs are really having an effect. But one of the other ones is the GPL1 fat jabs. Now, they're saying that this is causing problems because obviously there's probably about 5 million people that legally are on these jabs. And then there's obviously got the black market jabs as well. And these are having a big effect on people's diet and obviously not eating as much. So this is having an effect on the takeaway sector because without being rude, there's a lot of people within that section would have takeaways. So that's an interesting fact to come in. The other one is obviously the war in Iran. Fuel costs are going to go up, and we're also going to see fertilizer jump, and it's doubled already, and they're expecting it to go up because at least 5 to 6 of the gas plants that produce the fertilizer have actually been damaged, and they're saying that's going to take 3 to 4 years to get them back up, if they do, to coming back where they were last year. So it's good news for potatoes. Haddock, there's plenty of it. They think that's going to get us through. The only bad news is cod. Pollock's a good alternative. Hake is as well, but they can't find it. And as I say, their quota's coming to the end or they've nearly fished it out. Is there enough there to keep us all going? Probably not. But, as I say, there is fish out there. And I hear what people say about the good fish and what else. what else it is. But I also think that, as I've said before, and as we've sort of touched on before, you put the specials and whatever, people go to always what they want, and people love cod and haddock. And there's just some perception about it that if you put a pollock on, which is just as good from the cod family, people just think it's an inferior fish. How we get over that, I don't know. And I think we've just got to keep going with it and just keep plugging at it and showing people, maybe give samples away, saying, what do you think to that? And taking what your customers say about the fish. Instead of just putting it on, why don't you try it for a week, buy some and just take the hit on just giving a little bit away and say, try it and let us know what you think, or asking 10 of your good customers to give you some proper feedback on it. And I think that'll help you sort of make your mind up, should you go for it or not. That's about it, Stel.
I was going to say as well, like with that, David, I think, again, we talked about training a while back, but I think it's sort of teaching your staff to sell it. And so when people go, oh, I don't really like pollock, say, oh, it's from the cod family. Why don't you have a try? It's delicious. Yeah. It's white fish. Yeah. I think it's about really making sure that we're pushing it from our side of it, as opposed to just going, oh yeah, it is cheaper and it's not as good, which if you don't educate your team.
Yeah. One said to me, actually, have a photograph of a pollock and a cod and put them together, say this is what it looks like, because people probably think it's got tentacles come out of it. I don't know, but just explaining a bit more about it and maybe having a bit where you can pull it out and show them as it's fresh and they can see it's white, and just educating them a bit more. And that's our job, guys. It's not the fisherman's job to educate our customers. It's our job to make sure that people understand it. And if you have to give a bit away, that's going to help you in the long run. Why not? It's good business sense.
Pollock requires a little bit more knife skill and a little bit more work. There's a little bit more trimming up to do on pollock in order to make it eat as well as cod. It just requires a bit more attention, and the worm that you find in a pollock, it tends to be a little bit bigger, a little bit browner, and so yeah, you just need a little bit more attention, a little bit more discipline. But if you do the work when you're shut on the pollock, it eats very well. It eats very well and it fries very well. There's just a little bit more trimming to do with the knife. I can't really explain it. It just requires that.
The thing is, it's not as big, is it? The pollock's not as big a fish as the cod. That's one thing about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the pollock that I've sold, I've bought as 12 to 16. It's been great. I've been able to get the different portions off it that I want. The other thing I would say is, if somebody said to you, oh, you need to give a person one portion of fish and chips, you need to give them their first portion for free, and then you'll have them for the next 20 years. That becomes a no-brainer. So if you said to somebody, with your cod and chips tonight, I'm going to give you a small piece of pollock to try,
yeah,
and you convert people that way, that stops being a cost. It starts being an investment, because you need to have a strategy. You need to have something in place that's going to get people to try this risk-free. And once they eat it, they'll side by side, they'll be like, this is the same. This eats the same as cod if you do your job right, if you fry it properly. And I find pollock just needs a little bit longer in the pan as well. Again, only my own personal opinion, but that's what I've found.
Yeah.
Just before we move on, David, I wanted to ask you, obviously the haddock quota is a lot smaller than cod quota. So if, let's say significant number, like 10, 15% of people of shop owners jumped over to haddock, could that shift the price upwards because it's such a smaller quota than cod?
One of the suppliers that I respect really well didn't really agree with that. He said there's quite a lot out there. The quota next year might be a little bit more across the board, but it won't be significant for us to see a drop in price.
Okay.
But let's put it this way. 3 years ago, we were 100,000 tonnes or 1 million tonnes. Now we're down to 350. That's how much it's dropped. But he honestly, the guy that... that's a really interesting thing you've just said there, which is just lit a bulb in my brain. So if the quota has been so drastically cut, yes,
who is responsible? Because if there's MSC, all of these organisations, why has it been left so long before this huge action has been taken? Right.
So there's a few factors here. So who runs the quotas in the Barents Sea, FSA? Most of we get. obviously we've got the North Sea, and then we've got the Southern Sea in our North Sea and the Southern Sea. Who controls a quota? Great GB would do our shoreline, but most of what comes from us is done by the marine biologists who go on the boat, see what catch is coming on, and that is run by Norway, Iceland, and Russia. Obviously, Russia is no longer in the ball game. The marine biologists still work together, but we aren't getting any Russian fish. That's a massive area of the Barents Sea that none of the boats will go in, just in case something happens and they have to go into a Russian port or whatever. They just won't do it. So what we've got is that area. Also, Greenland don't belong to any quota, so they just fish. So they're also taking an impact. You've also got a lot of the, let's say the Spanish, the Portuguese, some of the German boats, French boats are going up to the Barents Sea to fish. So the corridor is so short now, or so small, where everyone's fishing, and that's what's happening, Stel. And you can't say to the fish, "Can you stay in this area for me, please?"
Surely someone has dropped the ball somewhere, surely. Because I remember when I went to Norway a couple of years ago, they were saying, we're going to have to drop quota by 40%. And I remember chatting to a marine biologist there, a nice chap, I can't remember his name though, and he said, we really probably should have done it then, a year ago, a year before I met him, he was saying they should have dropped it by 40%. And
there's your answer then, isn't it?
So then someone has dropped the ball somewhere, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's your answer.
No doubt it's probably politics because obviously it's important to the economy.
You've got to remember that Russian fleet is no longer supplying anybody. That is a massive fleet. And if you look at the Barents Sea and the Russian water, it's a massive area. And that is not coming in. So, and it isn't coming in for some time, is it? I mean, it's not, if everything stops tomorrow, it's going to take 8 to 10 to probably a year for everything to come back to normal,
Yeah. That's a really good answer. I just wanted to press on that a little bit because I think sometimes listeners might be listening thinking, well, this seems a bit too convenient that all of a sudden things are going like this. So I wanted to give a bit of a backdrop there.
Still, some of the boats are doing dry dock now. They usually fish all year, but, they've done the quota. So it's not in their interest. They're not going to be... They are governed by, the marine biologists. Now, they recommend 25% cut. That's what they should have taken. The actual fishermen took 32 this year. That's what they agreed.
Well, it'd be interesting to see what happens with that. I want to add something to this market report, and it's not nothing official actually, but I was chatting to a farmer the other day. It's my landlord actually, and we were chatting, and he was saying there's some interesting things going on that we're not seeing at the bottom end of the market, and it's going to add to the headache down the line. And he was saying a baby lamb usually costs about 50 quid to buy, and they're now costing 200. A baby cow was 100 and now is costing 500. Wool usually, and I've seen this with my own eyes, just puts it in the bin. They shear the animal and they put it in the bin. You can't even get hold of wool at the minute. It is like rocking horse, ish. And it is just everybody wants wool. Fertilizer, you mentioned it, has gone up massively and it's got more to go. And I saw, this is my own quote, an Arctic haulage that we usually use, regular route, we do it probably twice a month, £360 to £700. These are all costs that are going to be added on everywhere. And I think it's all hidden. I think it's not, everyone sort of doesn't see that it is all just going to funnel through.
Can I just add something to that?
Yeah, go for it.
It takes about 56 days from a boat to get from the Straits of Hormuz to here. And the last boat came in last week, I believe. So the closure of those shipping lanes, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, it's not such a problem. But start getting into week 7, week 8, week 9, week 10, the problems start to go exponential to that point.
Yeah.
And also to get these plants, like David said, that mysteriously fertilizer and oil refiners have suddenly blown up all over the world. Conveniently put more pressure on the price, which is a bit odd. So you've not really started to see the issues feed through yet.
Yeah.
Can I just say one thing as well? Sorry. This might add to what you said, David. You can maybe come in on that. Is that all of the guys that I spoke to said they may have to start putting a surcharge on for delivery.
It's already started. One of our suppliers has said, let's 4.5% surcharge.
Yeah, we always have a surcharge on all our haulage anyway, as in what we pay, and it moves daily. But what we've seen is that it's gone up significantly. So I think it's going to have to happen. I think we're going to see a place where no supplier, whether it's the likes of Warner, Smales, Tea Quality, Fry's Pride, they're not going to want to drop off something for 50 quid, 100 quid. They're just not going to do it.
No.
So you're going to start seeing minimum orders that are going to be enforced. And whereas, when times are good, wholesalers and suppliers don't really enforce those, your order's 90 quid. Yeah, well, we're going past anyway. But when it's like this, and wages are high, they'll be like, no way, we're not dropping it off for whatever the figure is. Whatever their figure is, they won't be coming under it. So, yeah, Mark.
Do you think this could be the saviour for the high street, in that there might be a shift in the market where consumers now have to go and collect their products rather than having stuff delivered, because it means a saving for the manufacturer? And there could be a shift. I mean, you see more collection points turning up. Does this mean there are going to be less Amazon vans floating around? Are there going to be sort of collection hubs?
Well, I think Amazon have been floating towards that for some time. You see them everywhere now, don't you? And if they can send one van to fill up one of those, one of those collection points, it makes sense. And
given the fact that people will pay 30% premium to have the food delivered, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I just thought I'd ask.
The market is completely shifted. But I think that's because of the different types of clientele out there. So I think there will also be some people that think, if I can go collect it, I'll get a discount, and others that say no. So I think there's always going to be that. On a last note, on the Pollock note, I'd like to add something. I think you have to sell on quality. Whatever it is, sell on quality. Yeah. I think the biggest mistake this industry makes is what David Nicolaou said at the beginning. We sell on price. And if it's try Pollock, it's cheaper, the message the customer receives is, if I try Pollock, it's worse. And what is the loss going to be? So it needs to be all the positives stacked up front, none of the negatives. That's just my opinion. Yeah.
It's not just yours. I think it's everyone's in this room.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on, interesting topic, I thought. So I'll give you a little bit of a reason why I wanted to bring this up. So I'm seeing a lot of operators in actually all industries, but it's not just fish and chips. Everyone's trying to sort of get video content out there for their, whether it's fish and chip shop, burger business, curry house, you name it, whatever it is. I've seen it for blinds, you name it. And I get the point when it's like a little advert and we're showing something, but now it's becoming where it's almost like a side gig. Content creation has become a side gig. Is it good or is it bad? I think my thoughts are attention isn't demand, views are not revenue, followers are not loyalty. And also, if you've got 10 million followers, which nobody has, on a fish and chip shop page or a curry page, is that translating into cold, hard money in the bank? And I don't think it does. So what are your thoughts, guys? You're all trying to slice your way through social media. You're all trying to get a piece of the pie as such. So, Kelly, what's your thoughts on this?
Obviously, you've just said that you don't think it results in cold, hard sales.
Well, like for like, penny for penny. So if you've got 1,000 views, is that 1,000 times fish and chips?
No, I don't think so. However, I do think that, like Charlie, my son's 17, that's where they go to. They look at food influencers are huge now, absolutely huge. And I genuinely think that's like your modern day Google review for their generation, I think. So I think that where social media is concerned, from our perspective, we do use it. We try not to ram it down people's throats, because I think if it's a bit like being in your local paper years ago. If you're in your local paper every week, people get bored of you. So I think from our perspective, we always try and use social media to our advantage, as opposed to just kind of putting out videos every day or every couple of hours. And we mix it up. So we tend to find that if if we're part of the social media or my team are part of the social media, it gets bigger followings, it gets bigger likes. People are more invested in that as opposed to just a post of a picture of our food.
So I spoke to, I have like regular chats with Meta because we put out quite a bit of content. And one thing they say to me all the time is, if you want more reach, do more video. And I'm like, well, like I've got a lot going on. We have toyed with the idea and we will do some. And they want you, they will give you more, we know they'll give you more visibility if you create video content. That's not the issue. I think the issue is when you're doing it 5, 6, 7 days a week and you're now running essentially a production thing. Are you working for your business, or where's the line? Where do we cross the line where it's doing it for your business or doing it for their business? Because the likes of Meta, Instagram, TikTok, they want all this content because it means that they've got free content. They want people to never leave their page, their app. So yeah, it's just a thought. David Nicolaou, you've got some experience in this.
Well, not much, to be fair.
Just OnlyFans.
That's next week. Two fat blokes turning up for dinner. I think that's all it is. You said that you don't get paid. You do on TikTok. If you live stream, you get paid. There's a revenue stream coming in, and people watching can also give you gifts, and those gifts they have to buy those gifts, and they can be turned into cash. So while you're stood there, I mean, I was in a shop the other day with my other hobby, and he was live streaming while he was cooking. It was, okay. And it's a bit weird because it's like he's having a conversation with his phone that was around his neck, and he's filming himself, obviously cooking in the pans and saying thank you, or thank you for the tip, thank you for the tip. So, it's clever, really, because while you're at work earning money for your business, there's a revenue stream coming in from dangling something around your neck. So I don't know how much you can earn, but there's definitely there's an income.
It's a bit of a passive income.
It's a passive income, yeah. It's a side gig.
Okay, so in that sense, were the customers ever in the video?
No.
Okay,
it's a completely separate market that he's talking to about people who are doing. Is it ASMR? That just watching someone. I mean, obviously, the people sit at home who have never had a job. Probably, it's a novelty, isn't it? Watching somebody work. going back to what we started with.
Oh God! Yeah. Imagine that. Yeah, we've gone full circle. Should we just finish now? Yeah,
let's all go to the pub.
I do think it's a little bit like, I get it though. I do get like creating video. Kelly's been doing some more videos for a business, and I get it but where is that fine line though? Where
I don't think that you frying a Mars bar or a caterpillar cake is going to get a customer to walk through your door. And I think you're
so that's a gimmick.
Yeah, I think you're conflating two completely separate things. So you've got a fish and chip shop and you serve your local community, but you've also got an Instagram, TikTok, other presence that is serving a global community of people who want to watch that sort of thing. And that, once it's monetized, it earns revenue. There's some reviewers that stopped reviewing 4 years ago and they're still getting like 2-3 grand a month off the channels because those videos keep churning, keep being watched. So yeah, I guess that's the goal, that you can have sort of longer term earnings off that.
I guess you sort of got to figure out, like,
I think it's genius.
Is where you want to be.
Yeah.
And I guess if you cross that line, then you're a content creator. That's fine.
So are you a shop with a content creation, or are you a content creator with a shop then? So then you have to sort of question what you are doing then, I guess.
Yeah. So does that mean everybody in business now has to do that? Actually, is that the prerequisite now? Like,
I think we've got some people have got this need for attention to promote the businesses, and sometimes I guess that attention can be a little bit misplaced. I mean, there's a fairly famous shop in Leicester that had a rather charming young girl who did a load of videos and it went viral, and now they're kind of having issues with quality and feedback.
Well, they're probably not, because that product's always been like that. Well, so they're not having any issues. That's how it's designed to be. That I know what shop you're on about, and that shop's always been like that. And I guess before videos, only their customers knew it, and now everybody knows it. But their customers seem to like it, which is another strange thing. So
it takes all sorts, mate.
Yeah, well, it does indeed, Mark.
Attention isn't always good attention. I think in the world of social media, we're reaching a point of saturation. Certainly on my feed, we've all got different feeds. We all get bombarded with different content, but I get so much, fast food created content thrown at me that it all kind of blurs into one, except for the people that do it really, really well. And I'll give you a good example. Miller's in Haxby. Their content is, the production value's really good. The content's really believable, and it looks scrummy. You actually want to eat it off the screen. It's
creep.
The food or David?
Well, no, all of it. The thing is, it doesn't. They're not trying to sell the food. What you can actually do, they're peeling back the curtain so you can actually see the passion. You can see the consistency and the effort that goes into what they're doing. And the thing is, marketing is a science, and there's tried and tested and proven methods for growth. And you can over-egg it, you can overdo it, and you can underdo it. And like I said, attention isn't always good attention. So you need to have a strategy. You need to understand, why am I doing it? What's my end goal here? But we can all shoot videos, and we can all shoot ourselves in the feet as well. It's not really for me. I don't really do it, but I do advise people on how to do it. And there you go.
I just imagine your Instagram feed is fried chicken and K-pop.
I was going to say a lot of it is quality over quantity, right? I think when I literally thought to myself last week, I haven't seen Miller's Instagram for probably wasn't ages, but it felt, and then all of a sudden there was Nick walking down the shambles, and I bloody love that video, because you're just taking it. They're selling an experience, Mark, aren't they? That's what I get from that. It's not.
If it was shit, Kelly, I'd say, if you want an example of how not to do it, look at Miller's. But the fact of the matter is, David's really, he's.
Nick
is really good at the Instagram.
I think Nick, one thing most people don't get about Nick, and David would understand this because it frustrates me and him endlessly, it's how obsessive he is about perfection. We've been waiting to go do something. We're waiting for him to finish a social media post, and we're like, we're going to be late. And he's like, no, I've got to do this thing. And he is obsessed with getting things right. But I do agree on the whole that what we should be doing across all business is selling without selling. And that is a good video is doing that. So I think, maybe I'm a little bit out of touch, and obviously I get that. But I do think where you've got to be careful, when I think Kelly hit the nail on the head as well, it's the quality over quantity, is making sure you're not just feeding videos to feed the algorithm, because you have then become a stall to the Meta and all them lot, because they want you to do all that. And I think really it's just trying to see if you can monitor what percentage of online attention converts to profitable repeat customers. But I'm intrigued. I'm sitting on the fence. David Miller, go on.
So the way we operate, obviously Nick is in charge of that, and we haven't just started doing it. I think we've been doing content like this for years and years and years. We have a 6-month plan, 3-month plan, and a month plan of where we want to do, what we want to get out. And we're, at the moment this year, this next 6 months, we're messing about with the staff. We're letting the staff come up with some ideas.
That sounds wrong.
And it's real, because we've got one on here. There's Tom here frying, 51,000 views. His apron's got batter all over it. It's halfway through Friday shift. It's real. It's not like we've all got immaculate hats on and everything like that. It's real, but they're having fun, and I think that's the great thing. And I think you picked up on that, Mark, is, like Sowley there, that's our manager. She's serving, she's being asked a customer, and she's laughing. And it makes, and there's no set pattern. You get a lot of these, like, come with me today, or they always start off the same. And I think we just shake it up a bit. But one thing I always say to people is, get your whole page up and have a look at the colour. Because the thing is, our problem is with fried food, it's all the same colour. So you've got to make it, as Mark always says, you've got to make it sexy. So break it up a bit, and your staff's your biggest asset. So use them. They're really good people, and they can have a lot of fun, and you're investing in them. And yes, if you're doing it, make sure it's right before it goes out. And that is where, I was working with Nick at the weekend, and he leans over, is that bat thin enough, Dad? Yeah, I said, yes, it is. Leave me alone, and that, he is really on it.
I'd be double checking you too, David, especially at an event.
Sorry? You are?
I'd be double checking your work at an event as well, because I know what you like when you've had a bit of a drink.
I went past Binley Mega Chippy yesterday, and they had their 5 minutes, didn't they?
Mm.
And fair play to them. You know, when you get it right, you can hit the jackpot. But you know what? It wasn't sustainable. They had their 5 minutes. I applaud them for it. Like I said, it's not for me. But when I went past it yesterday, it looked like Beirut. I mean, there was no one there. It was
what, Coventry or Binley? Oh.
Binley Mega Chippy. It looked. If you went there now,
that's an insult to Beirut, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, if you went to Binley Mega Chippy now, now the dust has settled. If you saw the video and thought, "Well, I'm going to go there," you went there, you would.
I
feel
never saw
cheated.
the video. I thought, I think those people that waited in the queue felt cheated.
Yeah, but it can.
No, but that's the point. There's no that virality doesn't happen no more because there's so much content now. People have become everyone now with their iPhone. Anyone above 12 years old is creating content. Yeah, So I think this is where this is so different now.
The point I was making is keep it real. The shop you talk about in Leicester. There are some people that will be fooled into thinking that even though the fish and chips is rubbish, you're going to get served by that lady, and there people will buy into that. But again, the reality is once you go there, you'll be disappointed, and you're actually contributing to the demise of a place, not to the success of it. Keep it real. Keep it real, people. Keep it real.
David Miller?
Couple of points. Thank you so much for your kind words, and that is nice to know that we are doing it right, keeping it interesting. The thing about social media, you've got no actual thing to say that you've come in because of that video or that social content. And that is one thing that would be nice if you could get somewhere to say, well, I've come in.
Well, I think David Nicolaou would agree. Yeah. It's getting there.
Is it?
I think there is some. Yeah, there's some.
And I think
there's some feedback loops. Yeah.
The thing about you are opening yourself up to like, well, that wasn't like it was on the video, so you've got to really make sure that you nail it. If Nicky, and I think that's something we've learned from going to Japan. If the lemon goes in the right-hand corner, that's where it goes. It doesn't go anywhere. You set the stall out. It's a little bit like the Trust House 40s days. That's how old I am. When I worked in the buttery there, you had a little picture that you worked on and everything had to be the same.
A spec sheet.
Yeah, so you need, if that's what it is in the video or that's what it in the still, it has to look like that because that is what people are expecting. I know when we're working in Japan, somebody go home and obviously you've got your set piece in the glass cabinet that they all look at. And if the lemon was in the top corner and not the bottom and left, they'd actually ring the company up and say, this isn't the same as the demo. And I learned a lot from that and keep it the same, but make sure your product, if you're saying that's what it is, you've got to make sure it is because they will be straight away on any platform saying it wasn't. Or what's the thing that people say? If somebody says they don't like something or whatever, they tell 28 people and then they tell somebody else and somebody might say, Miller's is crap. They've not even been there because they've heard it from somebody else. Just one more point and then I'm going to go. You were talking about the influencers, Stel. When Gordon Ramsay opened his mega restaurant up at Bishopgate, he had an opening night. The first night, not food critics, the first night was just influencers that came, not any food critics.
No, I'd agree with that. I could see that. I've got nothing. Yeah, but what is an influencer? And I think that's the key thing here. Yeah. You've got to figure out what that is. But then they've got marketing agencies, PR agencies. Yeah. They'll know exactly who they're dealing with.
Well, it's views, isn't it? It's views.
Yeah.
They've got venture capital investors now.
Yeah. So moving forward, Mark Petrou, I think this is a great segue into this topic. So the other side of social media and anonymous posting. Mark, give us a sort of, read us into what your thoughts are with this topic, mate.
Yeah, the reason I wanted to bring it up is quite recently I've seen some really good shops getting some kick-ins on social media. And it's a part of the internet that is unregulated and people hide behind the ability to post anonymously. They say things that may be true or may not be true and are unkind and very damaging and can undo a lot of hard work for a business. And I wanted to really just ask my fellow pod squadders, whether or not they, in their business, they had a complaints procedure available for customers, so customers knew how to complain, whether they had a refund policy, whether they had a policy to replace or refund. Because I've got a great deal of experience of helping other operators that get trolled and that get on, some people that are professional complainers. And again, aggregators as well, their refund policy tends to be heavily weighted towards the customer. And I'd like to see something maybe where if you ask for a full refund, you're not allowed to use that business again, or I don't know. I don't know. I just wanted to put it out there and see what everybody thinks about anonymous complaints and whether or not it was appropriate to respond to them, to ignore them, and what you did to tackle them in your business.
Before I jump over to Kelly, there's a few points I'd like to raise. One, I think if someone's commenting like that, for example, anonymously on a Facebook page, that's not a complaint. That's just some guy or person being a knobhead. So I'd probably delete that, or I'd almost advertise my response, which is, if you have a valid complaint, call this number, email us here, we'll deal with it straight away. But we are not dealing with an anonymous complaint here. One thing I've seen on my website as well is, and it's not just fish and chip shop, I think it's people that we sell to. We don't check our reviews all the time. We check them probably once a week, once a fortnight. And it's all verified reviews, because after 4 or 5 days of someone buying something, they get an email saying, would you like to leave us a review? We get the odd complaint there. And I'll ring the people afterwards, who sometimes I know, sometimes I don't. And I'll say, why would you leave a review complaining about the service? And I'm not saying it wasn't valid. One person got a broken bag of batter in their order, but instead of emailing us straight away with a photo so we can fix it, they've left it 4 days to then leave us a review, which we then don't see for another 4 days because we don't get alerts for reviews. And I ring them up straight away, and I'm like, why did you leave us a review instead of just emailing us? Our email goes on all the boxes, it goes on every correspondence. And the woman that I spoke to was just a bit like, well, I was really annoyed. And I was like, yeah, but if you just emailed me and said a bag of batter came broken, there would have been another one being shipped out next day. And I think so. If you are going to have a policy, it's got to be really, really clear. And then one last point before I move on to Kelly is so many complaints now that I see, or even just moany comments on Facebook from people that aren't even customers. You see it all the time where you get a comment like, well, I believe beef dripping's better than this and parm's better than this, and those chips don't look well done enough for me. And then you'll see the comment be like, oh, if that's your preference, that's fine. And they'll be like, well, I'm not from there anyway. I'm 100 miles away. And I think the algorithm now, it's widened anything that sort of creates rage bait. They just want constant rage bait. And I think, so that probably means that you're going to have a different policy on dealing with these things, because you have to think, is it a complaint or is it some weirdo or some disgruntled person having a moan? So Kelly, what do you think?
I've got a few thoughts floating around in my head. First of all, Facebook I hate it, because we have a local community group, like I'm sure everybody else does. And the question that gets put on there, where's the best place to go for fish and chips? And I just sit and wait. Okay, I'll give it 10 minutes. Crispy's is shit, proper shit, Withycombe shit. This is amazing. Sorry for my language. This is incredible. They're really good. And it's a spate. So you'll either get a spate of really we're rubbish or a spate of we're really good, depending on who's commenting that day. So I just tend to ignore that, because that, like you've just said, that's people who probably aren't even your customers anyway. If we get complaints, most of them they're jumped up since they've won awards. They think they're the best since they've won awards. That's normally the common denominator. I think if someone emails me, then they're genuine and they deserve my time and they deserve my effort, and they deserve, like David
Absolutely.
said, they deserve me to pick up the phone. They deserve my time. If they're just going to troll me and leave me a 1-star review and then email me, I'm like, well, which one do you want? You can't leave me a shit review and then ask for a refund if you've not even given me time to respond. So I actually stay away from reviews. I don't look at my reviews, and that might be, I don't know about you guys, but for my own genuinely mental health, because I think I'd actually have a nervous breakdown because you get a run of amazing and a run of bad. I just stay away from it and I focus on what I'm doing. And if someone emails me, that's when I sit my team down and we talk about it and we go through it. When it comes to aggregators, what I didn't know and has kind of come to light recently. So we've had a few complaints through Deliveroo. We had one customer who complained that their can of Coke was too cold and they got a full refund. And then the second one ordered cheesy chips and they complained that they got their cheese on their chips and they also got a full refund. So we spoke eventually after finding out our
there's too much potato in chips
account manager that most of the complaints through Deliveroo are now dealt with by AI. In actual fact, you're on a losing streak because AI is always going to be, because of the way the customer writes the review, they're always going to get a refund. So, I mean, look, we got our money back for these because we didn't agree when we fought them, and you can do that with Deliveroo. But I think when it comes to complaints and your business, I would love to have a complaints policy in place, but I think sometimes they're so niche. And I think a lot of it is that you'll always get, like, they'll complain about one thing. So it might be that their chips were, there was a few too many scraps in the bottom of the box. But I had an email complaint the other day. The guy said there was no fish in his batter. There was no food left on the plate. Like, what am I meant to do with that? If you're complaining that there's no fish in the batter, complain before you start your meal, not when you've bloody finished it. It looked like he'd licked the plate as well.
I'll tell you what I would do, even if most people don't read it, we have an FAQ page. And every time we sort of get something that isn't dealt with, we plonk it in there. And you know what? It's just good to point people to it all the time. And the customer isn't always right. So but you need to explain things. You need to say, we have a policy for this. And I do think a book or a spreadsheet that notes people when they complain, the date, because what if they do it regularly? And I think that's why McDonald's have a physical book where they write it down. And I know a few people in our industry that have a spreadsheet.
It must be a damn big book.
It is. No, it is. I remember seeing it. Like, I went one day just in an Eaton store. By 11 o'clock, she'd gone through 2 A4 pages, and you could get probably. So I think she said to me, she goes, people think no one complains at McDonald's. She goes, people don't stop complaining. So I think we're in a complain culture. So you need to set guidelines around it, because otherwise, and this is why we now say, if you're leaving us a review, that's great, because we love verified reviews, but don't use it as a complaint area, or even a feedback area, because if there's a problem with your order, you need to let us know so we can complain to DPD or the Pallet Network or whoever it is that we sent it with. Or even our supplier. It's very rare, but I think sometimes customers just want to feel entitled, and I think you've got to be careful of that. David, sorry, I couldn't see your hand there to the right. Go on, mate.
Yeah, we tend to use. You're right, Kelly. The local Facebook book groups are really quite toxic, aren't they? We don't post on them anymore. We don't put anything on the local groups. And you're right when you say there's a decent fish and chip shop. We never. Nobody likes a winner, do they? So we've won an award, so that gives us a target to be crap. But I mean, you can actually. I've got a friend actually who gets drunk and plays Facebook group bingo, and they've got like a bingo card saying, "Where's my parcel? I've seen a white van. What's that bang?" And literally just ticking them off on a Friday night, and it's just,
oh my god, it's the same as us. It must be the same everywhere.
It's just crackers. But back to Google. I mean, I don't do Facebook, to be honest. It's toxic. And we put very little out on Facebook. We're a village chipper. If people don't know where we are by now for 25 years, then we got trouble. But Google reviews, I look at those and I respond to those, every one. And we got a guy the other day, rang up at 1:25. We were closing at 1:30. We don't take telephone orders. He wanted 5 fish cooking. And half the time they don't turn up. They're running late and it's your problem then. So we just don't do telephone orders, and we don't put food in that's not paid for either because of waste. So we had a screaming fit on the phone, left us a 1-star review. And we always sort of give special attention to 1-star reviews because they're an angry review. He said he'd never even come in, but we're complete idiots. So we gave him quite a long list of reasons why we don't take telephone orders. And if you'd have come into the shop, we'd have cooked his food. It wouldn't be an issue. So I think, you've got to kind of you've got to look at your Google reviews, and you've got to respond to them in a timely fashion. But yeah, it's just everybody's so angry, and we are very accessible as operators, and so they can come and have a go, and they're going to know it's going to be seen by the owner at some point. Whereas you complain to McDonald's, the chief executive's not giving a damn.
Well, I'd argue not everybody is that angry.
Yeah, sure.
This is the 1% of the 1%. I think we give it a lot of attention because it is so loud.
Yeah. They are few and far between.
Yeah. Mark, I'll go to you just, before I go to David, because I know you've got to shoot off soon. So go on, mate.
Thanks. With social media, I tend to let my customers defend me, and I tend to keep quiet. But I do have a robust strategy in place to deal with genuine complaints. So it's only 5 steps. So the first thing I do is I always acknowledge a complaint, because I think it's important to acknowledge a complaint if it's not on social media. So if it's a Google review or an email or a phone call, acknowledge it, validate it next by actually making sure that the complaint is genuine. Then I investigate, then I resolve, and then I repair. See what went wrong, give the feedback to the customer at every stage, resolve the issue. Now, I like to put the fun into no refunds. I'd rather replace a meal than give somebody their money back, because if you replace a meal, you come out even. If you give them a refund, you've lost the cost of the meal. If you replace the meal, then you've got a second opportunity to actually get it right, and you can actually retain the customer, and then repair, the final stage, to make sure that they were happy and to let them know that you're grateful. Thank them for taking the time to complain. That always puts them on the back foot. When somebody complains, the first thing you say is thank you. They're like, oh, thank you. I'm trying to have a moan here. You know, thank you, because we really want the opportunity to fix things and to put things right. So that's my little robust strategy for dealing with it. But you've got to make sure it's a genuine complaint. And if it's plastered on social media, I would step in if it was really off and say, this isn't really the place to make a complaint, but you've got my attention. Talk to me, and let's see how we can take this through our robust complaints process. Yeah, most of the time, your good customers will actually say, that I've always had good experiences there, and speak to Mark, he'll fix it, or whatever. But yeah, I just thought it was a subject worth bringing up, because it's just we can all learn from it.
Yeah, David Miller.
Well, I'm totally in with Mark. That's the sort of similar way we do it. And I think a complaint is a complaint. It's part of life. It's upsetting. It's depressing. It's depressing for the staff, especially when we work so hard, and we all know how hard it is in fish and chips. But there could be some truth there. So it lets you underpin your business. But one of my golden rules is make sure you reply quickly, because they're almost expecting a reply. They really are. Yeah. Now, some, you might put a comment in and you won't get anything back, but we always put a little window of saying, please get in touch with us. Now, sometimes it works. And if you can satisfy them and make them feel special, because we're sorry we got it so wrong, thanks for letting us know. We can't become better if people don't tell us where we're going wrong. Invariably, we can get it taken down. So that is something you can try, but it takes a bit of humility from your side. You've got to actually go, we've got it wrong.
You can't go into it expecting them to be wrong. You've got to go into it. No.
Yeah. And, if you think something's really not valid, actually contest it. And you can get them down. Sometimes they do take your side and go, yeah, that's not relevant. Or they can see a pattern somewhere else of what they're doing. So for me, that's one. Again, if you can get the phone number, a personal phone call means a lot. So we had a complaint about a gluten-free order last week, that he felt that the chips weren't as good as they were last week. Very dry. Well, I've already discussed that about dry matter, very high. So I rang him up straight away, and he was blown away that me had rung him up, made the effort to ring him up. So we sort of said to him, right, next time you come in, please let us know. We'll make sure that name goes down on the till. So if it ever flags up, let's say David Miller's put a complaint in, as soon as that comes up, everybody knows this guy's complained before or are recently not happy with his meal. Let's make sure we really make this right. They're there, aren't they? You can't do anything about them. They're not prisoners, our customers to us. We don't own them. They've got right to say what they want. But I think it all depends how you act with them. And if you just discard them and don't believe them, then I think you're a bit of a fool. You've got to say, maybe we did get it wrong. How do we make this not happen again? Then there'll be another leak somewhere else, and you fix that, and it will carry on and carry on. But I think a reply is good.
I think it's worth noting that sometimes people just want to be heard, and they get so angry because they've probably had terrible, they've probably had terrible service elsewhere. Yeah. They've, and I think so. They probably go into it annoyed, thinking you're going to be fobbing them off before they've got there.
Yeah.
So I think, going into it neutral, like you said, thanking them up front. And then also, if they are sort of bending the rules a bit or trying to be twats, at least makes them feel a bit shamed a little bit. Yeah. It may not if they do this for a living, but you live and learn and you figure out who the bad guys are in this situation.
You do. And the anonymous ones, all you can do is reply, take that on the chin, hurts, it's not nice. Again, your community Facebooks, Haxby haters or Miller haters, we call them. You get them, don't you? And what makes me laugh is you know who they are, and then you go in the pub and go, "All right, David, how are you?" I said, "I'm fine, thanks. How are you?" Under my breath, you twat.
But I think they're just using their right. I think there's this freedom of speech issue always, and I think it's so wasted on people because they literally use it on absolute crap. Yeah, and just because I have a low friction way of telling people my thoughts, which is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is, doesn't mean I physically have to do it. I could literally turn to the missus and say, "Oh, I was expecting better tonight." Yeah. Why do you have to tell everyone?
And people don't like success, though. That's the issue. I don't know about you guys, but the better you are, people just don't like it.
Tall poppy syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is a very British thing, though. I remember I've said it before on the podcast. This is a podcast years ago, and it was a guy who now has hundreds of hotels. But he said in America, when someone sees you in a nice car, they say, "How can I get in one of those?" And in England, they say, or the UK, they say, "How can I get him out of one of those?" And I think that is a British mentality. I think that, the UK is so torn between capitalism and socialism. They don't know which one they want. They just can't figure it out. So they know they want a bit of that. And they also know that they like a bit of that.
You know what they say about socialists, don't you? They want everything you've got apart from your job.
I've seen this viral video going around at the minute. Well, it's a video that's going around and loads of people are copying it, and it says AI is taking your job, and you got people actually doing their job, and they're like, when? They're like, blink if you think AI is going to take your job, and they're just blinking loads and please, yeah.
It's just part of our business life, innit? Unfortunately now, and you've just got to try and use it and go, well, hands up, we got that wrong. How do we stop that happening again? No, that's not right. Or it's so difficult. And I think we're all human beings and we take it in a different way. And that's what's beautiful about being in business. We can't all be the same the way we treat it.
One shop recently complained to me. There's a friend of mine that I know, and he complained that customers keep going on social media and complaining about his products. But on his Facebook page, he had no complaints procedure, nothing. He had no email, no phone number. So it's going to spill out. So I said to him, why not just try putting your email and your phone number there? And he goes, well, I might get spam. And I was like, how much spam are you going to get? He hardly got any. And then he basically put, if you've got a problem, just come to us. And what's happened? It's really, he's now created a pathway and now he can deal with those things. And, and usually when you're getting many complaints, we have to accept that sometimes it can be a collective, but also it can be something you're doing wrong. We always know we're not above reproach, are we?
No.
So moving on to the next segment. It's a shame that Mark's not here for this one because it's a good one. Kelly, you have had a copycat situation and it's not the first time. Yeah. So, Kelly, run us through this. Tell us what the problem has been.
So, it's got to be probably about 8 months ago now. I actually got a text from Richard Ord in Newcastle and said, from Coleman's, and he said, are you moving up our way? And I was like, what? And then he screenshotted a picture of a shop in Newcastle that is identical to ours. Branding, the way the lights are in the shop,
the tiles,
flooring, font, everything, absolutely everything. So I was like really peed off about it, like really, really frustrated. But to be honest, I kind of just was like, do you know what? They're in Newcastle. We're in Devon. Like we're 9 hours apart. Like if someone wants to go and copy me, I've got far too much going on in life to be worried about it. So I just kind of let it go. Didn't really kind of respond to it. Then it bloody happened again in Great Yarmouth. So on the pier, which is owned by two gents, and they've sort of been doing it up. But that one was like that. I mean, if you guys Google Great Yarmouth and look at the branding, I mean, it literally is a mirror image of our branding. Like even the fairground lights, the scallop shell in the window, the wave lights in our window, it's identical. So that kind of led me on to speak to a solicitor about trademarking. It got quite complicated, not just in terms of cost, but it got quite complicated in terms of Rice Krispies and the same spelling, even though obviously we're never going to go into cereal. I'm never going to start putting Snap, Crackle and Pop on the boxes. It was just one of those things that we sort of had to go down and investigate as to whether it was worth us doing. It's really frustrating that people they just can't use their own creativeness to come up with their own branding, I guess. But we did notice that a few of our reviews were complaining about the seating area was really dirty, and I'm like, I don't have a seating area. Or we bought a foot-long sausage and it cost this much. And I was like, well, we don't have that on our menu. So obviously their reviews are kind of becoming crossed over.
You're getting some bleed over, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think my main concern, if I had any concern at all, is what happened if they did something that was detrimental to an allergen, or they ended up hurting someone, or someone became ill. Then where is the line? Because then people would probably just jump on the first one that they saw.
Has it ever, I know you didn't deal with it legally, but have you put anything on your website or anything just to say, like, we only have these 2 sites and this is it?
Do you know, we haven't. However, bizarrely, I've got a meeting with my marketing woman later on, and we were going to have a chat about things like that, because she was on about going up. Like, we were going to be really cheeky and we were going to do a little road trip.
I would go and do a film. I could video it.
Yeah,
I'd do it. Yeah, I'd
do it.
Well, Rumour has it that the guy in Newcastle is really pissed off with the guy in Great Yarmouth for copying his brand.
Shut up.
I'm joking, I don't know.
Do you know,
that wouldn't surprise me in today's day and age.
Kelly, I'm just having a look. They're not as nice looking as you.
Would it be good, though, if they'd changed their name by deed poll to Kelly and Tim Barnes? Wouldn't that just be the ultimate?
Well, the thing is, like, people call me a Tim, Mr. and Mrs. Crispy. That's the...
On a serious note, Kelly, have you the ones where there's something's popped up on your media complaints, whatever? Have you contested that?
And it got taken down, and we did respond to those as well.
Trouble is, chasing people like this costs money, and when it gets legal, it costs a tremendous amount of money. I think a phone call and a visit of like how disgusted you are, but they're not going to change it, unfortunately.
I know a lovely man in Cheltenham who's very good with fire.
sounds like some out of Goodfellas, that. Yeah, but no, I do think I think that the ship's sort of passed a bit. So there's only so much you can do, but like the gall of some people, I guess, and they know what they're doing. They've done it on purpose. They're not. And chances are these two people probably know each other. Like, I know they're far away, but they may know each other. Because what's the chances of two doing it far away? I don't know. I just feel like it's a bit, it's a bit obvious. The one down south, though, does your wholesalers know them at all? Because obviously they must be getting deliveries out the same depot,
Well, but no, because Great Yarmouth.
Oh, no, it's Norfolk. Sorry. Yeah. I was thinking something else. Sorry.
Yeah, no, so both north. One's just...
Yeah, no, well, one's Great Yarmouth's Norfolk, isn't it? So, yeah. Sorry, I was thinking of something down south.
I think you've just got to, it is really frustrating. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when we do refits, like in the past, we've always gone around and looked at other shops. We've looked at restaurants. We've looked at what people are doing. We've looked at ideas for lighting, and but you kind of put your own spin on it. You know, you're like, oh, I quite like that tile, but I'm going to go for it in a different colour. Or, I mean, you know, Jesus Christ, it is literally identical. Like, I would encourage you to go on. Anyone that knows us and, you know, knows our business, they are copycats, literal copycats.
I've just had a look at it now, Kelly, and bang on.
Well, it's frustrating.
I mean, we have loads of photographs. We have loads of our Instagram photographs taken and used. Nick knows if they're his. He just knows. Our hanging fish as well. You know, like our hanging fish we have, that's been copied loads. It's just one of them things again. Is it because I'm older and I'm more relaxed now? Or?
I remember a few years ago, Nick rang me and he was so peed off. And he sends me an image and the guy had copied not like all the text, like word for word. I won't say the word because what he used, because it'll give it away. But Nick would call his staff, the girls especially, the Millettes. And I won't say what this other guy did because it'd give away completely who it was. But like he copied it and gave it a similar name to his shop. And like Nick was just furious. And I think you know, like now you're seeing it, nothing is sacred anymore, like, and everything's copied. Like, look at a social media video, you see one funny video and then before the end of the week everyone's copied it. So maybe that's the art of the design now. That's what happens. But I don't know, I just think that nothing is sacred anymore.
Am I just like so laid back now that I'm older? I just go, well, good luck with that then. I hope you can do it.
Yeah, because you can't.
because
there's parts of the business that just can't be copied, aren't there? Yeah.
I just don't. You can do it, mate. Good luck with it.
They can copy lots of things, the physical things, but can they copy the good service, the good product, and so on?
It's bloody 40 years of passion and love and hard bloody work gone into it.
Absolutely, and you look at their product, and it looks like something out of a cardboard box from Tesco's. I'm like, I'm not doing too badly.
So moving on. Well, actually, I just top and tail that with, I guess one bit of advice is, Kelly, that if people haven't had that happen to them, is maybe go and see a solicitor and do these things now, especially if you have a unique name. If you don't have a unique name, like, I don't know, there's so many names like Nemo's and there's
Codfather.
Codfather. You probably can't enforce any of those. But you should probably, if you have got a unique name and you plan to use it, is go and do something now. But like anything, though, and a good friend of mine said this ages ago, contracts are only as good as your, how do you say? So they're only good if you're willing to sort of enforce them. Yeah. So any contract or agreement or copyright, if you don't act on it, then it's no point having it. So, yeah.
And that is serious nailed on expertise that costs, what will they be on? 300 quid an hour,
and the
probably.
Rest.
Bit like a divorce lawyer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. So moving on, David Nicolaou wanted to ask, are operators, well, actually, David, you tell us what you want to ask. I didn't want to speak for you. Bloody hell, what am I doing?
So I had an interesting conversation with my fish merchant, and it was saying that the upshot of the conversation was that we are going to have to, not an option, have to start selling alternative species of fish. And I was kind of, I was sort of debating the point with him. And then I open my phone and see that Beefeater had gone bust. And they've shut down all the Beefeaters and the Brewers Fairs. And I always thought, well, obviously, if everyone's gone out to a restaurant and bought a steak, you'll know it's, you can't get a decent steak now for 20 quid. You're in the 40s, 35 to 40 quid for a decent steak. And obviously Beefeater didn't knock out decent steak. But when you sat down at Beefeater and they said, "Oh, right, we've got some steak, or we can have some horse meat," there's no one selling alternate steak products, and
takes some beating. That's why.
Well, it does. This is my point. When we came back to the point that people have had a very, very long history of eating two species of fish that are superb, cod and haddock, and you have to stop thinking about it as either a fish merchant or an operator, and start thinking about what your customer wants. And it's a bit of metacognition. You're sort of thinking about the thinking. So I just got to the idea that are we now at odds with the customer? What we want and what the customer wants are now sort of diverting to two different things.
So I guess this is a tail off on the conversation earlier to some degree, which is fine by me. But I think I guess I'm going to lean in a little bit more of what I said earlier. I think what would happen if customers truly optimize for low price, they would only eat cheaper species in bigger volumes, and they really don't at the moment. And I think it's because humans value familiarity, status, ritual, and predictability more than economic efficiency. I think that we like, and again, that's what I was saying earlier, what are we optimizing for? I'm not saying that people wouldn't like something that's better value. That's fine. But we've got to be careful where we aim.
And we have to do it because people have been, people are creatures of habit. And they want the same product that's week in, week out, that they know, that they trust. And my argument was that, the customers will have to buy pollock or hake or coley. No, they won't. They'll walk in and they'll say, can I have a piece of cod? Can I have a piece of header? Oh, no, we've got pollock. Oh, all right, see you. And they'll do a 180 straight out the door. That's how I see it. And we've tried this before with giving freebies and putting a piece of, we've had hake chopped up as cod bites and given out. And we've said, here, would you like to try this? Oh, that's lovely. Oh, would you like a piece of hake? No, I'll have cod. People are such creatures of habit. And I don't know where we go to try and change that.
Well, see, I'll move this on to Kelly and David in a minute, but I don't see in the 160 years of fish and chips how we say that people are cost conscious. And I guess they probably are on the whole scale of things. But in 160 years, we've gone from anyone battering anything to, and we're talking about all the white fish on the shores of the UK, gone from battering absolutely anything, whiting, ling, pollock, you name it. If it was white, it got battered. Yeah. To basically zoning into cod and haddock with a few exceptional areas, like let's say London, or South Wales, where they like hake, or London, where they like the skate and rockfish and so on. The pattern is that we've zoned in, not carried on. So we've zoned into the quality. So if customers, after World War II, or let's say after the 60s, and David would know this better, but after that period, sorry, Dave. Yeah, no, but after that period, customers didn't come in and say, oh, I'd love that ling you've got, the one with a bone that goes all the way up the top. I'll have that. I don't mind paying, threepence for that. Sorry, guys, I don't even know my decimal figures.
Well, it's 1971, mate. I just decimalised.
But the point is, what I'm saying is, consumers clearly have optimized for quality.
Yes.
So, the pattern for me is that why are we now, if it was so much the other way, why aren't all chippies serving pollock, ling, whiting? And I'm not saying there's anything inherently bad. What I'm saying is, if it was that easy to move consumers to those products, it would have already happened. Consumers have already voted with their feet.
Absolutely. Yeah.
David Miller?
So going back to Mariport, again, everyone said consumer footfall's down. So obviously they're not coming as regularly as they were. So they're actually saving up to come because they're wanting to get what they want, which is, I love haddock, I love cod. It's not, they're not coming every other day to get the little treat to keep them going or whatever. It's actually a treat now. It's not just staple, it's a treat for people. When I look at some of the tickets going out and people are paying like 70 quid for a fun family, that's a lot of money. So they are thinking, do you want pollock, Dad? No, I want cod, please.
And
that's my favourite fish. That's what I'm having. And it has to be good. And I think that's where we're at. I'm all for it still, putting another fish species. I'm all for it, sustainability, everything goes with it. But that's not what drives our industry. Our customers drive our industry, not the fishermen, not the wholesale merchants. It's our customers that drive our industry and what they want. And it's going back to what you said. They've zoned in. Great word choice. That they've realised that is what they
Kelly
like.
Barnes?
I mean, we've, like I said earlier on, we've got pollock on our menu, and I think cod will always be at the forefront. I really, really do. I do, it does worry me, the conversations that we're having in terms of, cod stocks becoming less and less, which is obviously going to drive price up Is there then a ceiling price for cod, and are people going to pay it? And like David says, regardless of price, they're going to turn around and walk out if that's the only option on the menu. I think for me, it just kind of, it's offering a bit more diversity within our shop. And, we kind of talked about the fact that fish and chips is what we know, but I think I definitely have started to look at diversifying and looking at a younger market from a different perspective in terms of chicken products and things like that. Obviously, fish goes up, chicken's going to go up as well. However, but I don't know. I think for us, I as long as the pollock is good quality, then I will put it on my menu and I'll offer them a slightly cheaper alternative, but it's got to be good quality.
I agree with that. Yeah.
We tried to put some hake on our menu not long ago, and it was crap. I put it out. We had a couple of, feedback from customers that we knew and said, oh, didn't really like that. Right, okay, let's listen to these guys. These are the ones driving what we're selling. But I had a really interesting conversation with Smales the other day because I ordered a load of fish. We put some in. I tried it. Then when they sent me the actual product that I'd had a sort of a taster of, it wasn't as good. The sizing wasn't great. The fish was see-through, and it was haddock. And I said, I sent like 12 cases back, and I'd done that a couple of times with different things. And I said to them, I was like, I'm so sorry, guys. Like, I just feel like I'm getting stuff in, sending it back. And I was feeling this kind of like hate having that, the lack of continuity in a product. But what they said is they're doing the same thing to their suppliers. They're looking at a slightly cheaper alternative to be able to offer to us, to give to our customers. They know where we're coming from, because I think they're very well aware of what cod and haddock are going to do in the future.
Remember what I said, they have to pay them prices to keep fillet production going and for them to keep afloat. And we're all praying that it all comes, in the next, it's going to be 2 or 3 years before we'll see prices again like we were 3 or 4 years ago.
I don't think I wouldn't want to put the blame on fish merchants at all. Like, it's not fair. They're just trading a product, and that's it. That's their job. So what I will say is, though, what if, let's just think broadly here, what if there isn't a ceiling price? What if that is a figment of our imagination? What if the price is the price? You set your stall, here's what it needs to be. And I think we're the ones that say there's a ceiling price. No customer ever comes in and says to you, they don't have this little voting thing at the end of buying their meal and saying, yeah, here's the ceiling price I think it is. Like, it's all a perception. Like, so it's where
I didn't think the customers would pay $11.60 for a large piece of cod, but they do. I also didn't think that customers would pay 30% premium to have the food delivered, but they do. So I'm constantly being surprised, and we're constantly being sort of shocked by where everything's going. So yeah, you might be right. Our perception is that, I'll be back to what we said initially, that we're obsessed with price as opposed to obsessed with quality and service.
Yeah, I think we do this thing where we think customers won't pay. We just don't know. Like, if your product's fantastic and you've set your stall correctly and it's not a knee-jerk reaction, chances are they'll pay what the price needs to be. And you should still have those things that you want to do, Kelly. That's not an issue. It's not an argument against that. That's your business plan. That's your business model. So it works. David?
We have some worrying things going on as well, because there's a shop in Rotherham, which is in a fairly poor area, that have put an offer on, and it's a large piece of fish. It looks like a 10-ounce fish with fish chips and a side for £8. And it's just, there's...
Oh, I saw this one on video, yeah.
Very little margin in that product. And it just worries me that people are just trying to race to the bottom and think that volume will save the day. And I think the product's too expensive to just shift it like that anymore.
So I want to move on to the last topics. I know everyone's got to go, and I'm really grateful for everyone's time. Kelly, just run us through why you closed a store.
We've been looking at it for about 12 months, if I'm really honest. And we had a meeting with our accountant 12 months ago to look at whether deliveries were paying off, because we've got our own fleet of vehicles, fuel's gone up, insurance, all of those things. And, wear and tear on the vehicles. When we leased a vehicle and we sent it back, it was costing us nearly £1,000, regardless of what they classed as general wear and tear. So, you're sort of having to renew vehicles on that level. We were like, we really need to look at making sure that we're getting, that our drivers are doing a certain amount within an hour, and that we were getting the most out of deliveries. So in actual fact, what it kind of came back with is actually deliveries were bringing in a lot of trade. We're sort of on average of a weekend, Friday and Saturday night, we're doing anywhere from sort of 60, 65 deliveries onwards. So that was kind of a point of conversation. In all honesty, since Pines Road opened, so we got Pines in December 2019, we opened. 4 months later, we got hit by COVID. Obviously, we'd had this massive refit. It was then on and off for probably about 3 months of opening. It did a bloody good turnover. I'm talking, really good turnover. But what we'd noticed, and this is exactly what it wraps everything up nicely when we've been talking about footfall, is there just wasn't enough footfall in the town for two stores that were 1.5 miles of each other. So it wasn't the fact that the trade isn't there. There's just not enough to feed 2 units, 2 lots of staff, 2 lots of gas and electric, 2 lots of overheads, basically. And it was a decision that wasn't taken lightly. I mean, we shut for 8 weeks without kind of announcing it. So we even told the staff that we'd got a problem with the tills, which we actually did. Bizarrely, it happened on the first day of our financial year. So we were like, look, let's make the most of it, keep it closed, see what happens. And what has actually happened is Exeter Road has become more profitable because the overheads are a lot less.
I guess you shared more turnover with one store, which helps.
Yeah.
David Miller?
Did you ever think when you were setting up, obviously COVID's buggered it for you, hasn't it? That's really hit you hard. Did you ever think about that, Kelly, that it might play against each other? Or did you think there was just enough there and it would be fine?
I genuinely, there genuinely was. I think for the first probably, look, we had 5% VAT, we had furlough, we had, in actual fact, I think lots of the COVID stuff probably played into it for that first 3 years. But in actual fact, that's probably kicking us in the arse now with the rising costs and everything. But I think at the time when we won Fish and Chip Shop of the Year, I genuinely don't think that Exeter Road could have coped with that trade on its own because we weren't equipped for it. I don't think the staff were equipped for it. So it kind of came at a really good point for us. And do you know what, David? I don't think we did have that thought. I just think that, the Ukraine war, the Iran war, everything that's kind of fed into that is actually what's probably put the kibosh on it now.
Yeah.
And again, like if you were to sit down and look at the figures on paper, it wasn't the takings, it was what we were making.
Yeah,
and it wasn't the turnover of the trade. It was all down to running costs that forced our hand, and that and that's what we told the customers, and that was the truth. And we had to be really honest. And it wasn't a decision that we took lightly. We were very lucky. We didn't have to get rid of anybody. We naturally had a couple that actually were like, do you know what? I don't really want to go and work at Exeter Road. Yeah. It's not my bag. It's too busy. And then we had 2 or 3 people that have been with me for a long time, like I'm talking 15 years, that wanted to reduce their hours. So in actual fact, everything kind of worked out. What we're doing now, which we've never really done. So we would do the rota. Someone would start at 4:15. They'd finish at 10:15. That would be it. We throw loads of staff at a 3-hour period so that the service and the product is absolutely fantastic in our busy time. And then we reduce our staffing levels sort of slightly before and towards the end of service. And who doesn't want to go home at 8:00 when you've been
as soon as you go? Anybody wants to go home early? The sun's up all over.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, absolutely. And however, the next day they'll be moaning they haven't got enough hours. Well, that's by the by.
And do you feel all right now about it? Were you upset when it started, or when you had to come to this decision? Did you feel a bit down about it and a bit like, not fail, but what happened there?
That is the right word. You do feel like, it doesn't matter what anyone says, you do feel like a failure. Yeah. You've worked really hard to put that into place. Yeah. And we strived for a really long time to try and make it work. So it was definitely a feeling of failure to a certain extent. However, I am, when the numbers are doing what they're doing and they're speaking for themselves, it makes you feel a little bit better.
And you feel all right, yeah.
You know,
Well,
all
that's good.
all the fixtures and fittings. Have you saved them so you can sell them to the next guy that rips you off?
Well, as it happens, I think what was really difficult for us in Barnes Road is we had to sign a lease. We had to sign a new 6-year lease. So we weren't only trying to close down a business. We were like, do we actually sign this? And in actual fact, the rent is so good that we signed for 3 years, because what we didn't want to do is run Exeter Road so badly, because we were putting deliveries down here as well. And when it gets busy here, the congestion outside the shop. So we actually have that as a bit of a fail safe, if you like. And, you know, to be brutally honest and put cards on the table, it's $6,000 a year in rent.
Jeez.
So,
I mean, you know, you almost want to pay that to stop someone else going in it for the time being.
what I'd suggest, Kelly, is you go and have a right good look round that shop, see what that place in Newcastle hasn't gone, and go up and go, look, I just thought this would make you look more like us. Yeah. And here you are, here's a gift.
Yeah. Here's a sign from the window of the shop.
Just say to your marketing lady, this is what David thinks you should do. In fact, take 2 up and go, look, no hard feelings, but you just haven't got quite got it right.
Let's all go. Let's all go.
I love that. That's so fun.
Just
we just don't feel you've quite got the copycat right.
It might be somewhere to visit for my second hobby.
Yeah.
Fat blokes onto a lunch tour.
Please do,
we'll
David.
have a look.
So I wanted to finish it on the fact that I think, Kelly, you made a real bold decision. Whether it's in the right way, you just got to do with what you do now that you're left with a lease. It's just sometimes you've just got to say, we've got to make the decision that is hard. But I think sometimes people don't realise that contraction is a sign of discipline rather than a sign of failure. A lot of people are very quick to listen to this and probably say, and we've all done it, like, oh, they've closed the shop. But actually, this is what big corporations get right. You know, they'll buy a really big company in the heyday when money's cheap, 10 years ago, 7 years ago. Look at Coca-Cola, they bought Costa Coffee. They can't offload it fast enough. Yeah,
they can't offload it at all.
Well, they can't even offload it. So what I'm saying is they're very quick to just cut their losses and say, let's get rid, because it's not suiting us now in harder times. And you've got to say sometimes that is discipline. It's clearing up the dead wood, because otherwise, if you don't clear the dead wood, you have a forest fire, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? That you're dead right, Stel. That was that if we didn't get rid of one, it would have taken the whole lot.
Absolutely.
Well, I applaud you, Kelly. I applaud you.
My thoughts are pretty clear on economic cycles, that things are going to get markedly worse before they get any better. So you're just making yourself a bit more resilient for what might come down the road. So, you know, hats off to you, Kelly. It's a brave decision. So good for you, man.
And on top of that, I think many operators confuse expansion with strength. And I don't think that's always the case. I think that sometimes expansion can really make you look, put you in a very precarious position. But I think on the whole, I want to finish this now. We've done really well, guys. I want to thank you for your time. But one last thought for listeners. And I think it's, with all these extra costs and headaches and stresses, are we entering a phase where simpler business choices outperform complicated ones? I think that is probably something we're going to see, where we start looking at our menus and stripping back a little bit here and there. But yeah, whatever you do the math, make the right choices. Don't listen to the 1%, listen to the 99%, and just keep doing what you do. And guys and lady, thank you very much for your time. You've been great. Mark apologises for having to jump off. It was a pre-arranged important meeting. So yeah, we'll see you again in a month's time, won't we?
Thank you very much.
We will. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Stella. Pleasure. See you.